extra credit for all of you who are in here who have torn yourself away from the bazaar in the lobby. The sermon topic today is preparing for the holidays. Obviously, a number of people are preparing for the holidays by doing power gift shopping even as we speak. So be nice to them when they come in late. You can tell them how much they missed. You should have heard the joke that he told at the very beginning of the service. That's great. I'm the Reverend Ned Wight, the interim senior minister here at this congregation, serving with the Reverend Dr. Natalie Fenimore and the Reverend Jennifer Brower. I welcome you on this glorious and beautiful winter day. It may be before the end of the service, fog will have come in so completely that we will see nothing outside. But we will have the warmth of this wonderful community. That's the beautiful part of the day for us. Coming of Age class is serving their world-famous lasagna at UU Cafe to raise money for their annual heritage trip to Boston at UU Cafe today. So please support our youth in their fundraising effort. Fortify yourself with carbo load for your holiday efforts. The women's group holiday sale is going on currently in the lobby. We're hoping to lure some of those people in during the service. It will continue after the service as well. The RE Holiday Decorations Workshop happens in the social hall, 12:30 to 2:30. Family fun for all ages, including crafts, cookies, music, and a visit from Santa. I think we could have a little more enthusiasm about that. A visit from Santa. It's a tough crowd today. Okay. Admission is $5 per person. The Young People's Art Exhibit reception will be in the Art Gallery from 1 to 3. This is an exhibit of art by our very own youth here in the congregation, so please stop in to see that. You have an opportunity to express your generosity with Christmas roaster chicken contributions that will be in the social hall. The table for those contributions will be in the social hall today. There's a memorial service for Jean Heacock that will be in the chapel at 1:30, in the chapel at the other end of the building. Next Sunday, we'll have the regular 11 a.m. service and then the Messiah sing. Is it 1:30, Stephen?
Yes, it is.
1:30. So plan to be here and to join us for what will be a very exciting Messiah sing. And now I invite you, as you are expressing the warmth of this congregation as opposed to the cold and dreariness outdoors, to greet one another.
Our opening words are by Richard S. Gilbert.
We bid you welcome, who come with weary spirit seeking rest,
Who come with troubles that are too much with you, who come hurt and afraid,
We bid you welcome, who come with hope in your heart,
who come with anticipation in your step, who come proud and joyous,
We bid you welcome, who are seekers of a new faith,
who come to probe and explore, who come to learn,
We bid you welcome, who enter this hall as homecoming,
who have found here room for a spirit, who find in this people a family.
Whoever you are, whatever you are, wherever you are on your journey, we bid you welcome.
We light our chalice this morning in the season of sometimes frantic celebration, recollecting our need to slow down and breathe deeply and savor the life-affirming warmth and light of this chalice and this loving community.
As the days continue to grow shorter and the nights longer, we celebrate winter festivals by lighting candles. This Sunday marks the first Sunday of Advent, observed by our Christian sisters and brothers as the 4 weeks preceding Christmas, anticipating the birth of Jesus. Today, in solidarity with our Christian neighbors, we light a candle of hope. May hope burn in our hearts and in the hearts of all people in these troubling times. We also anticipate the beginning of Hanukkah. At sundown tonight, we display the Hanukkah menorah, whose first light will be lighted tonight, as a reminder of the seemingly miraculous victory of the Maccabees and restoration of the temple in Jerusalem, when a very limited supply of oil burned for 8 full days. Music for our service today honors the traditions of Hanukkah, reminding us, as the letters on the spinning dreidel do, that a great miracle happened there. Nes gadol haya sham. Today, in solidarity with our Jewish neighbors, we lift up Hanukkah in song. So please rise in body or spirit as we sing our first hymn, a Hanukkah hymn, number 223, Rock of Ages, Let Our Song, in the gray hymnal, number 223.
Please join me in the responsive reading number 663. Thank you, Ned. Okay. Well, excuse me. Please remain standing for the words and song of affirmation, the words of which are printed in your orders of service. Love is the doctrine of this congregation, the quest of truth and its sacrament. A service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve human need. This we affirm in covenant with each other.
Toda. Thank you very much, Stephen. At this time of year when we are encouraged to give to others, may we express our gratitude for the many blessings we receive from this congregation by giving generously to support its programs and activities. Will the ushers please come forward?
Okay, now. Please join me in responsive reading number 663, One Small Face by Margaret Starkey, number 663 in your gray hymnal. With mounds of greenery, the brightest ornaments, we bring high summer to our rooms as if to spite the somberness of winter to come. In time beyond, when life is floating up against the uncertainty, we celebrate and give what we have away. All creatures bend to rules, even the stars constrained. There is a blessing in madness and human need to go against the grain of cold scarcity. We make a holiday, the rituals varied as the hopes of humanity. Reasons are obscure like ancient small face. We've arrived at the part of our service where we invite you to light candles of concern and celebration, marking the sorrows and joys, the realities and hopes in your life. Please come forward to either candle box at this time.
Let us join in some moments of prayer. God of mystery and miracle, we are grateful today for the arrival of Hanukkah, which invites us to consider the multitude of miracles that surround us every day. The miracle of life in all its diverse forms. The miracle of consciousness which makes us aware of the immensity of the universe. The miracle of wonder, which we first experience as children and hopefully never lose. The miracle of love, which binds us together as couples, as families, as friends, as creatures of compassion. The miracle of service, which moves us to make sacrifices to serve in leadership for the benefit of others. And we remember especially today our 41st President, George Herbert Walker Bush, who died this week after a very long life of service. The miracle of language, which allows us to share thoughts, ideas, and feelings with one another. The miracle of story, which gives us a chance to puzzle over lamps that burn for 8 days with only one day's supply of oil. The miracle of being here together. For all of these miracles, we offer this prayer of wonder and praise at the beginning of this special season. So may it always be Shalom. Amen. Well, the December holidays are upon us. For Unitarian Universalists, we have a particularly full smorgasbord to choose from. And I am indebted to the small group ministry leaders for generating a list, which I will refer to here, and they will be discussing these in their groups this month. First is Christmas on the 24th and 25th, celebrating the birth of Jesus. Hanukkah, the 2nd through the 9th, celebrating the miracles of the Maccabees and the oil lamp that burned for 8 days. Kwanzaa, 7 days beginning on the 26th of December, celebrating African American communal values. Bodhi Day, the 8th, a Buddhist festival celebrating the enlightenment of Prince Siddhartha Gautama. Pancha Ganapati, a modern 5-day Hindu festival beginning on the 21st, of gift-giving and starting over. Yule, the ancient Germanic pagan festival beginning on winter solstice, the 21st. Soyal, winter solstice celebration of Zuni and Hopi tribes. Solstice, earth-based traditions observance of the shortest day of the year on the 21st. Chalaka, a week-long celebration of Unitarian Universalist principles beginning the first Monday of December, that would be tomorrow, recalling a principle each day and doing a related good deed, that's Chalaka, and Festivus, an alternative to commercialized Christmas for the 23rd, invented by author Daniel O'Keefe and popularized by an episode of Seinfeld. So we have 10 options to choose from, at least. Most of us probably celebrate 1, 2, or at most 3 of these. For our congregation this year, we recognize Hanukkah today and next week. We'll observe the winter solstice on Friday the 21st, and we'll celebrate Christmas traditions on the 16th, the 23rd, and our 2 services on Christmas Eve, 5 and 7 p.m. For many of us, religious observances are associated with these days, and the observances are probably the least of our challenges in preparing for the holidays. There are family gatherings, cleaning, preparing food, traveling, making ready for house guests, purchasing or making gifts, wrapping gifts, decorating the house, putting up a menorah or Christmas tree. There's a lot to do this month. Most of us carry in our head an expectation, or maybe it's only a hope, that we will experience a rush of love and joy sometime during this season. That we will feel genuinely celebratory. We'll have some sort of warm, fuzzy, exhilarating sense of positive goodwill within ourselves, within our families, within our congregation, within our communities. And yet, how often this hope seems to elude us. Are we misguided to approach the holiday season with the hope to experience love and joy? I think not. And we may be able to help prepare the way for this hope to be realized. Natalie Fenimore referred me to a resource that I found very helpful this season, Unplug the Christmas Machine by Joe Robinson and Jean Kopek-Staeheli. They tackle some of the hurdles and barriers we need to negotiate to increase our chances of encountering more love and joy at this season of the year. I recommend the book to you. I want to share with you this morning some of their insights on this second day of December, when there's still a fighting chance to consider doing some things differently this year. Their context is Christmas, certainly the most ubiquitous of year-end holidays here in the U.S., and the holiday with which I've had the most direct experience. But I suspect that much of what they observe applies to our approach to a number of holidays at this season. If Christmas is not your chosen holiday, I invite you to translate what I have to say into terms tailored to your particular celebration. How do we bring our own particular intentionality to our observances? How do we celebrate each holiday in a way that's meaningful for us without having the holiday juggernaut pick us up like a giant snowball and carry us down a hill not of our own choosing? Here are some of the challenges that Robinson and Staeheli identify. The first is probably the most obvious, the context of ubiquitous commercialism. Commercialism is really the reality behind the Christmas machine image. The mistaken notion that what we long for can be procured by the buying and selling of goods. And no wonder. They offer a brief overview of the evolution of Christmas celebration from simple do-it-yourself family activity in the 19th century to the 24/7 advertising and shopping frenzy of the early 21st century. No wonder we often feel assaulted, exhausted, and overwhelmed. We are living in the midst of this context of incessant commercialism. So it is within this context on commercialism on steroids that we must chart a path to a holiday celebration that's truer to our hopes. This is a tall order. For how many of you does December seem more like a forced march than a season of celebration? Raise your hands. There are a lot of Force March people here in the room. So, alas, this is the way Christmas is for many adults, stressful and ultimately disappointing. In an email I received this week, Reverend Natalie described it this way: at this time of year, we've adapted ourselves to endure more than to be really joyful. To endure. To what extent do we set ourselves up for this disappointment? As the authors observe, it's easy to feel judgmental or aloof, nursing hurt feelings at Christmas, especially in our families. As they write, Christmas casts a bright light on family relationships, highlighting both their strengths and their weaknesses. They remind us that the power of Christmas to heighten our awareness comes from a subconscious wish we all have to belong to perfect families. We begrudgingly accept our family's imperfections from January to November, but when we flip the calendar to December, we yearn to be blessed just this once, just at Christmas, with a perfect family. Frequently, this has been my experience over the years. This began when I was a teenager, a period in life when judgmentalism is particularly strong. I share with you this morning, at some risk to personal dignity, an excerpt from the journal I kept as part of an assignment for my English class when I was a junior in high school, age 16. I entitled the entry, Christmas Eve. It's funny how I look forward so enthusiastically to Christmas. In October and November, I begin feeling the good spirit of the Christmas season. I feel peaceful and happy, expecting this Christmas to be the best I've ever had. Then Thanksgiving arrives and departs. Immediately, the commercial side of the year-end holiday begins, and I begin to think about Christmas shopping. I eagerly anticipate the end of school and the snowball dance and the many wonderful Christmas events, concerts, caroling parties, church services. We have our school Christmas concert. It goes slowly and is largely ineffective in stimulating the Christmas spirit. The snowball comes, and with it come quarrels with my father over where to go after the dance. The result is my date and I go nowhere. The church services simply have not meant what they used to me this year. Our caroling party was almost a complete failure. The truck broke down and there was utter confusion. Christmas shopping has been depressing. I tried to make some frames for pictures for Mom and Dad, but the glue did not stick. Tonight is Christmas Eve. I dislike each member of my family tonight. Mom had me wrapping Christmas presents all afternoon. Dad was too tired to go to the Christmas Eve service at the church, but not too tired to watch television at home. My brother and sister, the big college students, have come home for the holidays and have turned on their collegiate sophistication, complete with their all-knowing attitude and related sermons to me, their ignorant brother, and their constant references to drinking, which undoubtedly makes them adults. The whole thing makes me sick. I am probably old-fashioned at 16, but I thought that Christmas was a time for peace on earth, goodwill among men. At our home, it seems to be a time for selfishness and dissension. It hasn't always been this way. I remember Christmases back in Michigan when we were all younger, when we three children believed in Santa Claus and loved Christmas, when Dad didn't always talk about his being an old man. He still isn't, but you would never know it the way he talks and acts. Then we always enjoyed going to the Christmas Eve service together. I guess I joined in that timeless lament, oh, for the good old days when Christmas comes. I sigh a little each Christmas when I remember how I used to love the Yuletide seasons. Maybe someday I'll find the happiness and joy in Christmas that was missing or hidden this year by the drudgery of shopping and the situation at home. I hope so. Yowza. Jaded about Christmas at age 16. It is interesting to observe my very high expectations and my disappointment with these high and totally unrealistic expectations when they were not realized. It's interesting to observe how I looked back nostalgically to my memories of Christmas as a little child just 10 years earlier. It's interesting to observe the inner conflict about competing values: religious observance, gift giving, relaxation or not, signs of love and harmony with the family of very different people, each with his or her own expectations and priorities. It's not surprising that such high expectations of others would be disappointed. There's nothing magic about this season to exempt us from conflict with other family members, from illness, from crises like floods in our homes. Just ask any of the residents of Hadley House. From grief, from loss, from the realities of life with its ups and downs. As our authors remind us, despite appearances, most people are no more or less happy at Christmas than at any other time of the year. Now, of course, there was a coda to my Christmas Eve entry that I wrote several days later. This one I entitled, "My Own Fault." After much thought, this is what I wrote, after much thought about Christmas Eve and my attitude then, I conclude that it was not my mother who caused my despair and unhappiness, nor was it Dad or my brother or sister. It was I. I have only myself, my intolerance, my self-pity, my procrastination, and my selfishness to blame for the lack of meaning in this year's Christmas season. I'm sorry, family, for blaming you for my stupidity. I'll try not to let it happen again. Resolution number 1 for 1964, look at yourself before you blame others for your feelings. It's touching to look back at my persistent, relentless efforts at introspection and self-reform, which I say have continued unabated for the ensuing 60 years. It's an easy time of year to be hard on ourselves. Robinson Staeheli identified one of the biggest challenges facing all of us at this stressful season: to practice loving and accepting one another as imperfect human beings. And that includes loving and accepting ourselves. Ultimately, the key to unplugging the Christmas machine is knowing what it is that you really want, being clear about what you value. Because what you value, what really matters to you, shapes what you hope to experience and what kind of a holiday you'll help to create. Based on their experience leading hundreds of workshops, they find that, as they say, there is a universal wish to end the year with a festival of renewal that rekindles our faith, brings us closer to the people we care about, and brings light and laughter to the dark days of winter. How might we help bring that about? Their prescription is to ask ourselves what's most important about Christmas. What do you most value? People need to make conscious choices because Christmas offers so many possibilities. When people don't sort out which of these ideas is most important to them, the celebration can seem fractured and superficial. They offer a 10-item checklist of value statements, suggest crossing off any items of no importance, adding missing items, then rank ordering the list from most to least important. Let me just share their starter list with you. This will give you a sense of some of the possible values. Christmas is a time to be a peacemaker with my family and the world at large, to enjoy being with my immediate family, to create a beautiful home environment, to celebrate the birth of Christ, to exchange gifts with my family and friends, for parties, entertaining, and visits with friends, to help those who are less fortunate, to strengthen bonds with my relatives, to strengthen my church community, to be relaxed and renewed. We need to make choices, and there are no right or wrong answers. Perhaps the best way to clarify your hopes and expectations is to ask yourself, what do you really want for Christmas? Their research identifies a universal dream, showing that for Christmas, people want to be in harmony with the natural world, united with friends and relatives, filled with the spirit of love and acceptance, and have their everyday cares lightened with fun and laughter. They have a particular concern about parents who totally exhaust themselves trying to meet what they project to be their children's Christmas wishes, and I think their advice here is helpful. In fact, they say, there are 4 things that children really want for Christmas. 1, a relaxed and loving time with the family. 2, realistic expectations about gifts. 3, an evenly paced holiday season. And 4, reliable family traditions. To create just the right balance between family activities, community events, and just plain hanging out time, parents need to pay close attention to their own needs and to the needs of their individual children. Our authors tell us about a couple from Colorado who found that the only way that they could spend relaxed time with their children, and that was a high priority for them, to spend relaxed time with their family, was to turn down all social invitations after mid-December. To make sure this would happen, they got out the calendar the day after Thanksgiving and drew a red and green box around the days from December 15th to January 1. Now, gift giving poses particular problems for both Hanukkah and Christmas. What do I think people want? What do people actually want? What do people expect? What do I expect of myself? What can I afford? There's more wisdom here from Reverend Natalie. This time of year, she wrote, we are encouraged in our culture to celebrate the gift more than the act of giving. We all have explicit and implicit gift-giving rules that govern our holiday gift-giving. It's probably worth trying to make them explicit and deciding if they make sense for us. And it's worth considering how we might de-escalate gift-giving in some way if it is a burden to us. The authors wonder if Americans are losing the art of celebrating. They fear that we are becoming way too passive at Christmas, and the advent of more and more electronic devices is only making this worse. They urge us to consider adding movement and physical activity, adding more opportunities for fun and silliness, and maybe creating new traditions based on the family's ethnic background. Their most urgent and most important recommendation is to take some time to make a plan. Clarify what's most important and set aside specific achievable goals. And there's a host of ideas in their book. At the beginning of this book, they have this Christmas pledge. It's not a bad place to end this sermon, not a bad place to begin our preparations to experience the holiday we hope for this year. Believing in the true spirit of Christmas, I commit myself to remember those people who truly need my gifts, express my love in more direct ways than gifts, examine my holiday activities in the light of my deepest values, be a peacemaker within my circle of family and friends, rededicate myself to my spiritual growth. Let us begin. So may it always be Shalom. Blessed be Insha'Allah. Aho Shanti. Amen. Our hymn is number 226. People look in the gray hymnal, 226. As you are able, let us rise in body or spirit to sing this together.
Thank you.
Our closing words by Mary Oliver are also being used by this month's small group ministry gatherings as their closing words. If you suddenly and unexpectedly feel joy, don't hesitate. Give into it. There are plenty of lives and whole towns destroyed or about to be. We are not wise and not very often kind, and much can never be redeemed. Still, life has some possibility left. Perhaps this is the way of fighting back, that sometimes something happens better than all the riches or power in the world. It could be anything, but very likely you notice it in the instant when love begins. Anyway, that's often the case. Anyway, whatever it is, don't be afraid of its plenty. Joy is not made to be a crumb.